Well, folks, look what we have here. Dunlop Motorcycle Tires new Sportmax Q5 tire. This is an ultra high performance sport bike tire for all of you hardcore sport bike and track day riders. We fitted these Sportmax Q5 tires on this 2023 Yamaha XSR 900. They replaced the OE fitted Bridgestone Batlax S22 tire, which is also a very nice tire. Now, the Sportmax Q5 are the fifth iteration in Dunlop Motorcycle Tires' now ultra high performance sport bike tire lineup. The original qualifier, it debuted right around the 2006 calendar year. So 2006 calendar year was when Dunlop really put emphasis on making a generational high performance street bike tire. It wasn't until around 2010 though when Dunlop unveiled its Sportmax Q2 where they really upshifted into the next gear. And these Sportmax Q5s are really descendants of that Sportmax Q2 from 2010. That's when Dunlop really got rolling with an ultra high performance tire at a very affordable price. Now, the Sportmax Q5 effectively replaces the Sportmax Q4, which was debuted for the 2018 calendar year, I believe. Now, looking at the tire, they look awfully similar, but Dunlop's done some careful updates to this Q5. We still have that concentric tread pattern. That's a signature tread pattern that Dunlop likes to use on its road racing tires, and now the new Sportmax tires, which had on the Q4 and now the Q5. But if you look at Dunlop's Sportmax tires, they've always been oversized. So even though the manufacturer will call for a certain fitment 120/70/17, the 120/70/17s always look more meaty than other manufacturers. And Dunlop continues the trend with this front tire. Look how big that thing is. This thing's actually a little bit taller in the center than the outgoing Q4. It's also a little bit more narrow, which makes it even more tall. And Dunlop did that because they wanted to increase the contact patch and optimize the contact patch at extreme lean angles. And when we say extreme lean angles, we're saying upwards of 45 degrees. And if you're a motorcycle rider who's leaning your motorcycle over to upwards of 45 degrees, you are getting some. So realistically, this tire is for high-end sport bike riders and high-end track day riders who really know what they're doing on the motorcycle. Now, Dunlop also tweaked its Carcass. It continues to use its JLB construction, which is basically a continuously wound belt, so the tire can never separate or have any problems like that. And what Dunlop's done is they've increased the lateral rigidity, so lateral in this axis. They also increased the longitudinal rigidity, so that's when you're braking, and they also reduced the sidewall stiffness. So when it goes over bumps on the track or on the street, the tire is a little bit more forgiving. Really nice that Dunlop's paying attention to the details and really trying to tweak this tire. Now, the reason why Dunlop focused so much on the front tire, it says, is because nowadays, you know, for 2023 model year bikes, a lot of them have traction control, a lot of them have rider aids. They almost mitigate the control the rider has to a certain extent of the rear tire. That's why Dunlop says it focused on the front tire, because aside from cornering ABS, there's really no input from the machine. And cornering ABS, you have to be braking at such an extreme level that it really doesn't even engage until you're really wailing on the track. So that's why Dunlop focused on this front tire. They also introduced a new size. So for the longest time, all the Ninja 400 riders and all the small bike riders, they didn't have a 110 tire they could mount on their bike. Now Dunlop offers a 110 front tire. So all you small displacement sport riders out there, now you have ultra high performance tire offering from Dunlop. Let's look at the rear tire Here is the Sportmax Q5 with the concentric tread pattern again. Now, this particular tire, this is a 180/60. So Dunlop also expanded the tire range size of the rear tire too. So now they have 140 rears and they have 260 rears. So they have really big tire sizes for all you Panigale V4 folks and people like that. The rear tire, the shape of it has changed too. It's a little bit taller. It's not quite as, it's not more narrow like the front tire, but it's certainly taller. Dunlop also invested resources in re-engineering the compounds, both front and rear. This tire benefits from a revised molecular construction, a lot of carbon black, not a lot of silica. These tires don't use a lot of silica. Silica usually it's a sand-like material, which helps boost warm-up time, and it also helps boost performance in the wet weather. These aren't really wet weather tires. You can certainly ride in the wet or on a wet track with these tires, but that's not really what they're designed for. Now, it's worth noting that these tires are manufactured in the United States out of Dunlop's Buffalo, New York tire factory. This is the same tire factory that manufactures all of its road racing tires. All right, folks, that is a quick rundown of Dunlop's Sportmax Q5 tire, the successor to the Q4. We are going to review these tires for you in live format. We're going to do a part 2 review where we operate this vehicle on the street. Then in a few months, we are going to fit these tires on a high performance leader class superbike and report to you in live POV format from the racing circuit. It's also worth noting that Dunlop has an all-new Sportmax Q5S. Now, the Q5S replaces Dunlop's previous Sportmax Q3 and Q3 Plus tire. So the last generation of tire, when Dunlop went to the Sportmax Q4, it separated its line. So for the longest time, Dunlop had just one tire, the Sportmax Q3. It would do street and track, in the wet, do everything. But the competition was starting to separate that class into a super high performance track day tire, not a racing tire, but a high performance track day tire, and a high performance street bike tire. So Dunlop did the same when they unveiled the Sportmax Q4 a few years ago. So now the Sportmax Q5S replaces the Q3, Q3 Plus. This tire, while you can totally do track days on it and totally whale on it, it has a little bit more tread and has some other changes that make it more optimum for street bike use. We will do another separate review of these Q5Ss in the future. There's a lot to talk about, so that's why we are separating all of this editorial for our proven purchasing US audience out there. All right, folks. Thanks for riding with us. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs it down if you didn't, because we'd love to hear from the naysayers. And we'll see you in the next episode. And stay tuned for our ride review on these Q5 tires on Monday. We'll see you folks later. Thanks for riding with us.